Can we make a difference in just 4 days?
So we are ready to roll here, just waiting for the student to come on in. She is, check my notes, she is almost 11, will be 11 in a month and a half. She is in 5th grade and reading at about a beginning 3rd grade level, so more than 2 years behind. Accuracy was about the same, late 2nd grade level, where she started making a few mistakes. Solidly 2.5 years behind in her reading skills. Math, not so much. Math is one of her better subjects. So when I checked her, they flew in for a screening about a month ago, and her digit span was 5, her visual digit span, which is the most crucial in a lot of ways. And then her auditory digit span was 6. So she's at about a 6 to 7-year-old level in her sequencing skills, which would be digit span and working memory, and she's almost 11. So 4 or 5 years behind. So we're going to see how we can do with that. And the program will include pretty much everything I do, because I didn't notice problems with auditory or coordination, but the parents mentioned that they've seen problems. So I want to go ahead and just make sure that isn't an issue. So we'll try to cram that in. We'll be doing 3 hours, an hour on, hour off, hour on, hour off, which is the only way I could fit them into my schedule with my current clientele. And then we'll also be having them do the tape-assisted reading program called TARP, which I'm excited to have them do. I often don't have the opportunity, so hopefully they can get that done on their own. And you can look that up if you want, the tape-assisted reading program. We don't use audio tapes anymore, but that was what it was called because it used to be on audio tape. But an incredible exercise if you can get some consistency there, either in the school or in the home. We'll be hitting the sequencing real heavy. So yeah, I'm excited to get started, and here we go. We had just an amazing day. I'm just so thrilled. I ended up being able to see her 4 full sessions today with at least 1 hour break in between each one. And they were able to either go for a walk or go get a snack or something like that, just to kind of refresh the student. She started today being able to sequence 15 items. And by the end of the day, she was able to do 24. So that was huge, kind of working in a digit span, still a pretty low digit span, but just adding and adding more and more items to remember. And then it was interesting, her mom had said she had some coordination issues, which I hadn't really seen in the screening, but when we got in there and I had her do some exercises with her eyes closed, there was definitely some balance issues. So that was, but other than that, most exercises she did pretty well as far as the coordination piece and where her body is in space. She was proprioception. She knew where her body was. I was also surprised by an issue she had with the inability to blend sounds together. What I would do is I would have 2 blocks and I would say a word, a made-up word, like "beh." So if I say "beh," then she's supposed to say "beh," and then she's supposed to break it apart, "beh," and then she's supposed to put it back together. Well, I wanted her to put it back together, and she would say "ba'eh, ba'eh." I tried to explain that we're blending it, or you're blending 2 sounds, and you're getting 2 syllables, and you shouldn't be getting 2 syllables. And we talked about syllables, and she understood that. But every sound I did, if it was one of the explosive sounds, you have to puff out the air. So sounds like the P and the B, the D, the K. So ke becomes ke, eh. If I would say ka, she would go k, eh, and then she ke, eh, ke, eh. And she couldn't blend it properly in 5th grade. I tried all sorts of things that I've tried with other students to help them when they have that problem, but I wasn't able to do it. I wrote the sounds on the board, showed her that she was adding a vowel in where there shouldn't be one, and that sort of thing. And what was interesting is that even after she had just heard the sound, so let's say it's "beh," and she would break it apart, "ba, eh," and then she would put it back together, and she would get "ba, eh." And I'd say, "Now, is that the word we said?" And she's like, "Yeah." mean, she didn't remember that we had just said be. So that's a real language disability, and she doesn't have a diagnosis because she was in a very casual school from up through 4th grade, which was focused a lot on learning at your own pace and being out in nature, and that sort of thing, and being kind to others. It was just that was the focus of the school. So she's never gotten a diagnosis. Then when she went into regular public school, it was obvious that she was so far behind. And so I think now they're going and looking towards getting evaluated. But it appears to me that there's a strong possibility that there is a language-based reading disorder, and there is an auditory component, a phonemic component to that. Obviously, I can't diagnose, but I can see where the problems are. So I wasn't quite sure how to move forward with that. That was the second lesson. Then the third lesson, I changed it up and we didn't do that exercise. And then in the 4th lesson, I brought it back in, but this time I started with the vowel consonant. Instead of a consonant vowel, I started with the vowel consonant. So and then I would say and she would have to repeat and she'd break it apart, and then we put it back together, and she could do that just fine. And after we did enough of those, then we went back to the consonant vowel, and I started with ones that didn't have the explosive sounds. And then I went to the harder ones with the explosive sounds, and she did pretty well. So I'm hopeful. I had asked one of our reading specialists if they could come in maybe and give me some pointers, but everybody's down with illness or they're out of town for the holiday or whatever. So I wasn't able to get any input from any of the reading specialists today, but it seemed like my technique worked pretty well, so we'll see. And then we worked on the qubits. Again, everybody knows, they watch my channel, I love qubits. We worked on those, and those were very, very hard, even without any diagonals. She was still really struggling to position even the straight blocks. But by the end of the day, she was able to do all the straight types of blocks with the circles, and she was able to reproduce the patterns that had one diagonal. She said it was hard, but she got it pretty well. It turned out really great. I had unicorn stickers, and she loves stickers, and that's a really good perception exercise. I get those sticker books over at the Dollar Tree, buy them by the case, and that's a really, really great perceptual activity, and I use it as rewards for all of the sequencing that they do. And she happens to be totally in on unicorns, so that worked out really well, and she was very motivated to keep trying to get more unicorns to fill up her puzzle and see what the hidden picture was. The other thing we did was I had her read a little bit from Anne of Green Gables, which is the selection that her mother chose. It is 2 grade levels ahead of what she can currently read. It is at her grade level. For the tape-assisted reading program, like I mentioned in the morning video, we want to pick a reading that is 2 years ahead of what they currently can do. Again, if you want to look it up online, I will definitely do some videos on how to do the tape-assisted reading program because it's just amazing. If you want to look up now, you can go ahead and do that. TARP, tape-assisted reading program. I had her read and I recorded it so that we have a comparison to see how she does by the end of the week. And then I got her started on that. She hopefully will be able to listen 3 times a day to the recording while following along with the text. And that's the goal for that one, is to do that. So that's pretty much it. I was a little worried when she came in for her 4th hour today. She seemed pretty tired and maybe even a little resistant. She's got a great attitude. And Mom says she can handle it. She drives herself hard and she can do this. And so I was like, okay. And I tried to make it fun. I tried to give her lots of good encouragement that she was making great progress. But it was so worth it because Mom wrote this to me.
Hope you're having a restful evening after your tiring day. I can already sense changes. Weird, crazy. She was reading things electively this afternoon that she would have never wanted to do. Without my prompting her to do so, I can definitely recognize a subtle shift in her reading more of the world around her. Thumbs up.
So isn't that just awesome? I couldn't believe it. And so I was just so happy for both of them, and so glad that we're putting in this time. And we'll see how things go. I mean, so 4 hours today work. Whether that will work subsequent days or not, I don't know. I have her scheduled for 3.5 hours tomorrow. So we'll be up bright and early, 8 o'clock, and hitting the exercises again, and I'll keep you updated.
Can we make a difference in just one day? Yes.